Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm D&Diablo. With the recent release of Diablo 2 Resurrected Edition, Halloween right around the corner, and this channel's recent achievement of hitting the humorous benchmark of 666 subscribers, the time has come to turn Dungeons & Dragons into the hack-and-slash video game we all know and love. This is D&Diablo. One of the most iconic aspects of Diablo-style hack-and-slash video games is the randomly generated treasure, and holy shit, is there a lot of it. You could use magic items from the Dungeon Master's Guide in your games, but what makes these treasures so distinct in Diablo-style video games are the modular enchantments applied to otherwise mundane gear, and even more so, that these enchantments get more powerful as the players defeat stronger monsters. So I've made a Diablo-style treasure and reward system as part of my new Hordes of Darkness supplement. You can download it for free from the link in the description. But whatever style of magic item generation you use, your players are going to need an easy way to keep track of their inventory loadout. I recommend using index cards to pass items around the table and keep note of which items have been identified. Since egads of treasure will be flowing, nobody is going to want to enter all that stuff into D&D Beyond, nor will they want to erase a hole through their character sheet to keep up with the treasure drops. Conversely, passing the magic items around like trading cards keeps the collected gear highly visible on the table and the character sheets clean of any nonsense. The next issue to resolve with normal 5th edition treasure tables is the far too low output of actual treasure and gold. Monsters in hack-and-slash adventure games drop loot like whiny toddlers spilling popcorn in a movie theater. Roughly half of all the monsters you throw at the players should drop gold, potions, or unidentified magic items. 70% of the treasure should be 100 or so gold, 20% should be potions, and 10% should be a randomly generated magic item. If you're used to standard 5th edition treasure drops, this might sound like way too much treasure, but keep in mind, the players will be fighting hordes of monsters, way above the normal XP budget, so they're going to need all the help they can get. The gold can be traded back in town for new gear, potions, or even to pay a wizard, perhaps named Deckard Cain, to identify the collected gear. Once the characters are resupplied, it's back to the grind to kill more monsters. For designing monster encounters in this style of game, abandon all of your preconceived notions concerning the challenge ratings or a daily XP budget, whatever that is. The vast bulk of your monsters need to be weak so they can be slain in one hit. This will allow you to replicate the monster swarms popular in this style of video game. As your players get more powerful, you can start to throw more durable monsters at them, mixed in with the rank-and-file droves of skeletons and kobolds. But you should design combat encounters that stretch the party's action economy to its absolute limit. You know you're doing things right when the wizard in the party, upon reaching 5th level, finally gets access to Fireball only to realize casting it at the wrong time could be a life or death mistake. Whereas in a normal D&D campaign, Fireball is treated like a big red stop button, in this Diablo-esque style, Fireball only gives players a single combat round of breathing room before the horde is back upon them. Additionally, because there are so many monsters in play, I strongly recommend using miniatures to keep things from being confusing. The super cheap 1/72 scale Caesar miniatures are an affordable way to get dozens of goblins, zombies, and skeletons on the table, even if they aren't technically 28mm. Furthermore, when running this many monsters in combat, take as many shortcuts as possible to simplify the process. Think of your monster hordes as cohesive groups that all take action on the same initiative, roll their attacks at the same time, and roll for the damage at the same time as well. When I've run this style with one of my groups, I've had as many as 40 goblin miniatures on the table. It was pretty wild to watch the party use the environment to their advantage and hold the line as mobs came tearing through the choke points. When designing a campaign map, It's wisest to think about the area surrounding the player's starting safe zone as a free-form dungeon and less like an expansive wilderness. Monsters should be everywhere. Using a hex key to craft your regional map is helpful to keep everyone oriented, but each hex shouldn't represent a space larger than the size of your battle mat, roughly 200 feet across. Doing this ensures that more monsters are always a stone's throw away at any given moment. Anytime combat breaks out or the players make a bunch of noise in one hex, monsters from an adjacent hex should have a chance of getting curious and showing up to the scene in 1d4 rounds. If the players aren't smart, this monster curiosity might trigger waves upon waves of demons charging in from all sides. Taking a page from Runehammer's index card RPG, I like rolling a swarming monster die and then placing it at the edge of the battle mat where the party can hear the monsters approaching. Knowing more enemies will appear in just one round will have your players working frantically to slay the ones right in front of them, or else they become totally overwhelmed. For designing a region, roughly a third of your hexes should have monster encounters, but it's also a good idea to have a few locations noted with random treasure hotspots, like an overturned merchant's cart. Additionally, each region should have a safe place to take a short rest, like an abandoned barn or a small cave. Further mix these up by adding a trapped or dangerous location to each region that might look like one of the safer encounters, but could blow up in the player's face if they aren't careful. An abandoned house with zombies in the cellar would be a terrible spot to take a short rest. Lastly, pick an entrance and an exit on opposing edges of the map, and an entry to the region's dungeon, and your overland environment is complete. Stringing 5 or so of these regions together can give you a Diablo-style act, culminating in a boss battle at the end of the final dungeon. When it comes to hack-and-slash dungeon design, the hallways should be cramped, the layouts should be maze-like, and the entire complex should be brimming with monsters. If you're used to designing dungeons that tell a near-linear narrative story, you'll want to do the opposite for Diablo-style dungeons. Cram rooms together and use hallways, doors, and causeways to create a series of concentric or fractal loops in the layout. It's always fun as well to create a larger central hub that a number of doors and hallways connect to, and create a much more open and frantic battle area in the center of the map. Doing this will force players to constantly be on their guard from all directions. Characters can never trust that monsters are only in front of them. As with overland encounter designs, a third of the rooms in a dungeon should have monsters, but also randomly placed treasure hoards, booby-trapped crates, and barrels, and mix up the kinds of doorways players have to contend with. Replacing a few wooden doors with portcullis gates will allow some monsters to harass players with ranged attacks, while other monsters circle around from the other side of the loop. These circling monsters could make the situation even more terrible by dragging all the other monsters they bump into with them as they run toward the player characters. Add a few floors to your dungeon for added insult to injury, and a hefty boss with plenty of minions, and your dungeon is complete.
Perfect.
If you want to check out my supplement on how to turn your 5e game into a Diablo-inspired hack-and-slash adventure, check out the link in the description. Also, if you're a bit crafty, MaxDM Crafting has been working on a playlist to build some Diablo-style D&D terrain. His playlist will be in the description as well. But remember, to run a game of D&Diablo, be sure to lean into randomly generated magic loot, randomly placed monster encounters with tons and tons of weak monsters, and create dungeons that are filled with labyrinthine, looping layouts with an open central hub. Thanks for watching, Demon Slayers, and until next time, good night.